And let's go to the very last episode. A little episode over here. 9 verses. Page 48, 49. Okay, the Tower of Babel and the dispersion. So I want to take for us chapter 11 in English. We'll go through it.
The whole earth was of one language and of common purpose. And it came to pass, when they migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them in fire." And the bricks served them as stone, and the bitumen served them as mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build a city, and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed across the whole earth." Hashem descended to look at the city and the tower which the sons of man built. And Hashem said, "Behold, they are one people with one language for all, and this they begin to do. And now, should it not be withheld from them all that they propose to do? Come, let us descend and there confuse their language, that they should not understand one another's language." And Hashem dispersed them from over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because it was there that Hashem confused the language of the whole earth, and from there Hashem scattered them over the face of the whole earth.
What's happening over here?
Well, it looks like they have it's very confusing. It looks like they have a common purpose, that they're working peacefully. And
right. A lot of emphasis on the bricks. Right? The bricks to build this tower. Right? This was the Apple X of the day. This was the cutting edge technology. This is, hey, we can take care of ourselves and we can do whatever we want. We can, right, build a city with a tower with its top in the heavens, right? The Medrash speaks about, we'll do battle against God to make sure no more floods, right? We can protect ourselves against the workings of God. It's fascinating. In Israel now, so the desalinization is incredible, right? Yeah. At the same time, there still is this drought. In other words, we have to realize, Israel, we say is a chosen land. But one second, Egypt had the Nile River giving all the water, right? Isn't that better than the rainfall of Israel, which is so precarious, so non-dependable? Well, actually, when it rains, it's fantastic. Right? You don't have to do any work. It does all the work for you. Israel is the land where God's eyes are. And you build the relationship and the blessing comes. But when we try to buffer ourselves and say, no, we are impregnable, right? Famously, what was the ship? How did they describe the Titanic? How was it described?
Unsinkable.
Better than that.
Hashem won't even be able to do it.
The ship that even God can't sink.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Well, that's a lot of hubris.
Right.
This is the Titanic over here. This is that which even God can't flood. This is we will become impregnable. We can buffer ourselves. And we can separate ourselves. We don't need to deal with up above. We will take care of ourselves. So they build for them what's this massive, massive tower. So what does God say? It's almost funny. Right? Pasuk Hey. Vayered Hashem lirot et ha'ir v'et hamigdal. God went down to look at the city and the tower. Of course, God doesn't need to go anywhere to look at something. But what's it telling us, right? With all of your technical knowledge and advantages, we've built the skyscraper of the day. So it's like we go down onto the ground to try to see, that's what the ants built. That's the massive colony that they built. So what is this last responsibility?
Spiritual?
Yeah. He calls this as the ontological responsibility. A responsibility to recognize that we have dealings with the force above, with the good Lord. And that needs to guide. All of our technology, beautiful. Utilize it. It's a blessing. Utilize it. But don't utilize it to cut God out of the equation. Don't utilize it to cut yourself off from God. Utilize it to enable more. Right? The internet. It enables so much Torah to be accessed, so much Torah to be studied. It also enables so many relationships to be destroyed. So much scam and phishing and thievery to go on. Right? So we need to utilize that which we are, going back, there's so much in these Parshiot, right? 6 days we're supposed to work. Shabbos rest. Desist from your creative activity. But be creative. Create. Build. Partner in this incredible world. Doctors, find cures. But realize that with all that you do, you need that partner in heaven. I've told this story of a Talmud of mine, he and his wife I'm very close to, who were having problems, fertility issues, challenges. And they went to a religious fertility doctor. And at the end of that first meeting, he said, look, there's a lot of things that we can try, that we can do. But ultimately, God's going to decide. We're making our efforts. Let's say a chapter of Tehillim, of Psalms together, that all of our efforts should be successful. Wow. So with all of our advances, we need to realize and recognize that we can't cut God out of it. Right? Now in Israel, they're thinking of, can they take the seawater, right, that they've desalinated, thank you, I was going for desalinated, and use that to fill up the Ciner, to help raise the Ciner level. Right? We can't buffer ourselves. Going back to Adam and Chava in the garden in Gan Eden, we need to recognize we're in God's world and fit accordingly. I want to do one other thing that I mentioned before it gets too late. And that is a teaching from the Slonim Rabbi. He says a very beautiful thing. In Avot, in Ethics of the Fathers, it says there are 3 midot ra'ot. There are 3 bad midot, attributes, character traits, that are motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam, that take a person right out of the world. And they are kina, jealousy, tava, desire, kavod, honor. Okay? And he says, well, let's look at 3 of these 4 events. We'll come back to the first one. The second one, what was the event? What was the midah at play with Cain killing Hevel? Kina, jealousy. God accepted his, but didn't accept mine. So I have a choice. Either I can build myself up, or I can slam the other one down. Kina. What happened with Noach and his generation? What was the sin that led to the flood?
Corruption.
Corruption. What type of corruption? Stealing and morality. The Gemara says, what are the greatest temptations that no one isn't subject to? Lust, sexual lust, and thievery. And taking and other people's possessions. Right? So the three things that take us out of the world, we have kina, the Mishnah says, jealousy, Cain and Hevel. Tava, desires, the generation of the flood. What's the third one? Kavod, honor. What do they say they want to do over here? Come, let us build a city with the Tower of David, and let us make for a name for ourselves. Let us, v'nasa lanu, shame. We should have our own name. Self-sufficient, self-dependent. The Torah is, before we can get to the Torah, to the instructions, to the laws, we say derech eretz kadma l'Torah. Derech eretz, proper behavior, needs to precede the Torah. So it's interesting. He doesn't mention Adam and Chava. He doesn't mention the lesson from there. He has the other three. And I think if it fits into what we were saying before from Rabbi Sachs, before I could talk to you about the issues of kina, of jealousy, of desires, of the lust for honor, what's the foundation before all of that? You have to take responsibility for yourself. Right? If I'm not taking responsibility, then of course I'm jealous. Look what they have. Of course I have my desires. Look what was available to me. Right? Of course I need my honor. Right? Look how much honor others are having. Why shouldn't I be honored? I get no respect around here. Right? The very first thing we need to have before we can even talk about those other three is personal responsibility. So the Torah over here is laying down, right? As we said, if it's a law book, right? Or guidebook, let's go with, right? So what are the understandings, the responsibilities as individuals and as communities, as society, as mankind, as humankind, that we need to take upon ourselves? That's the groundwork. Once we have that, then we can be introduced to, who's next? Next week, who we introduced to? Avraham. Yes. Dov? Yes, Jan.
So, again, we've discussed one of these, and I don't know why Hashem makes me feel a prickle anew about, help. But